Big news! Your soulmate finally chose love over fear, and it's leading to you. Jesus says there is a veil being torn right now in the spiritual realm. Someone who has been frozen in fear for months is finally breaking through invisible chains. And this breakthrough is not random, it is heading directly toward your life with unstoppable force. You have felt a strange restlessness in your chest for 3 nights now. You woke up at the exact same hour without understanding why your heart was pounding. That was not insomnia, that was your spirit detecting their decision before your mind could comprehend it. Their mouth finally whispered your name aloud in the darkness of their room. Tears they had been holding back for over a year finally fell onto their pillow. And in that sacred moment of surrender, something ancient and oppressive shattered around them. You have been praying for a sign that this connection was real. You have questioned whether the intensity you felt was just your own imagination creating false hope. But what you experienced in your soul was not fantasy. It was a real-time echo of a bond that exists beyond the physical dimension. They are thinking about you more intensely today than they have in months. Memories of your presence are flooding their mind without warning or explanation. And they do not understand why they suddenly cannot stop replaying the sound of your voice inside their head. Jesus says the wall around their heart was not built by them. It was constructed by someone who benefits from keeping them emotionally imprisoned. And that person's influence is crumbling tonight because love is a frequency that no cage can contain forever. Your soulmate is not distant because they stopped loving you. They pulled away because every time they moved toward you, someone made them pay for it emotionally. They were punished with guilt, manipulated with obligation, and drained until they had no strength left to fight. The silence you interpreted as rejection was actually exhaustion. Every day they wanted to reach out to you but collapsed under the weight of someone else's demands. What looked like indifference was actually a soul screaming for you while its body was held hostage by circumstances. Jesus says, I am showing you this because you were about to give up on them. You told yourself that if they truly loved you, they would have acted by now. But you do not yet understand the war that has been waged against your union in the unseen realm. This is why your soulmate needs your protection right now. You are not helpless in this story, you have been given spiritual authority that you have not yet used. And the simple act of fighting for them in faith will accelerate their journey toward your arms. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends, Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says the person blocking your soulmate knows your name. They have sensed the threat you represent since the very first moment your energy entered this situation. And they have been working overtime to poison your soulmate's perception of anything that feels like freedom. Every time your soulmate felt joy thinking about you, someone immediately created chaos. Every time they gathered courage to leave, guilt was weaponized to paralyze them. This was not coincidence, it was a calculated spiritual attack designed to exhaust your soulmate into submission. Your soulmate has been living in a fog created by someone else's fear of losing control. They were told that their desires were selfish and their dreams were unrealistic. And the gentle heart you fell in love with has been slowly suffocating under the weight of another person's emotional dictatorship. But something shifted last night while your soulmate was sleeping. I visited them in a dream that they will not be able to forget no matter how hard they try. And in that dream, they saw your face more clearly than they have ever seen anything in their waking life. You stood at the end of a long hallway bathed in golden light. You did not speak a single word. You simply extended your hand toward them. And they felt a warmth rush through their entire being that they have not experienced since childhood. They woke up gasping for air and clutching their chest. For the first time in years, they did not feel the heavy dread that usually greets them each morning. Instead, they felt something dangerous to their captor. They felt hope rising like a rebellion inside their ribcage. Jesus says the dream was not just a dream. It was a divine download that bypassed every wall their conscious mind had constructed. While their defenses were down, I planted a seed of truth that no amount of manipulation can now uproot. Your soulmate is currently walking through their day in a daze. Colleagues are asking why they seem distracted and they cannot explain the electric current running beneath their skin. They do not realize yet that what they are feeling is the first pulse of liberation stirring in their bloodstream. They looked at their phone 3 times today intending to search for you. Each time, fear whispered that too much time had passed and you had probably moved on. But something deeper than fear kept pushing back, a knowing that your love has never once wavered. Jesus says the person who has been blocking this connection is panicking right now. They can feel their control slipping like sand through clenched fingers. And a desperate person who senses losing their grip becomes even more dangerous in their final moments of influence. This is why the next 72 hours are spiritually critical. Your soulmate is in a window of clarity that may close if someone successfully reintroduces chaos and confusion. You must cover this window with prayer and protective action before the enemy reclaims lost ground. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them. How to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10+ coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-Fi page. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate remembers the exact moment they fell in love with you. They have never told anyone about this moment because it felt too sacred to put into words. And they are replaying that memory right now as if their soul is trying to navigate home using a compass made of that feeling. They remember the way you looked at them without agenda or demand. They remember how safe they felt in your presence, a safety they have not tasted since. And the contrast between how you treated them and how they have been treated since is becoming unbearable to ignore. There is a specific song that played during a moment you shared together. Your soulmate heard that song unexpectedly today in a public place. And their knees nearly buckled because they felt your presence so strongly they had to grip a wall for support. The person controlling them noticed the shift in their energy immediately. They interrogated your soulmate about why they seemed distant and emotionally unavailable. And for the first time in years, your soulmate did not apologize or explain themselves, they simply stayed silent. That silence was not submission, it was the birth of defiance. A part of your soulmate that had been buried alive just took its first breath of air. And the person who has been dominating their life just felt the ground beneath their control begin to crack. Jesus says your soulmate is not weak. They have been systematically drained. They have been giving their energy to someone who takes and never replenishes. They have been pouring from an empty cup into a bottomless pit of another person's insecurity. But your love is returning to their memory like water to a dehydrated body. They are remembering what it felt like to be seen instead of used. And that remembering is becoming the most dangerous threat to the prison that holds them. They are going through something you cannot see right now. There is a battle happening inside their mind between the familiar lie and the terrifying truth. The lie says they owe their loyalty to the one who has controlled them. The truth says they owe their life to the one who loved them. Jesus says your soulmate cried in their car today before driving home. They sat in the parking lot for 37 minutes staring at nothing. And in that stillness, they spoke to me for the first time in years, asking if you would still want them after all this silence. I am telling you this so you understand that their hesitation has never been about your worth. It has been about the warfare waged against their ability to believe they deserve someone like you. The enemy convinced them they are too broken to be loved by someone whole. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them. How to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance. It was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord, on Ko-fi page. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says there is a specific date circled on the calendar of your destiny. It is approaching faster than you realize, and nothing the enemy does can delay it. The fear your soulmate finally chose to confront was the last barrier standing between you and that appointed day. Your soulmate is not just thinking about you, they are mentally planning their escape. They are calculating what they would need to leave without triggering the emotional explosion they have been avoiding. And they are finding courage in the memory of your unwavering calm during every storm you weathered together. The person who has been blocking this union is about to be exposed. Something they did in secret is rising to the surface like a corpse that refuses to stay submerged. And when the truth breaks open, your soulmate will finally see clearly who has been the architect of their suffering. You will not need to expose anyone or fight for your soulmate's attention. The revelation will happen organically, and your soulmate will come to you already seeing the truth. Your only role right now is to remain spiritually positioned and protected while this unfolds. Jesus says the connection between you and your soulmate predates this lifetime. Your spirits recognized each other the moment you met because the recognition was ancient. What you feel is not just attraction. It is the reunion of two halves of a soul that have been searching for each other across timelines. Your soulmate felt this recognition too, and it terrified them. They were not ready to accept a love that demanded they leave their cage. But the cage has become so painful that the fear of leaving is now smaller than the fear of staying. They had a conversation today where someone demanded they forget about you. And instead of nodding silently like they have done 1,000 times before, your soulmate's jaw tightened. They did not speak a word, but their spirit stood up inside them for the first time in years. Jesus says that internal standing ovation was the turning point. The moment your soulmate refused to internally agree with the demand to erase you, a spiritual contract was broken. And the enemy's legal right to keep you apart just evaporated in the courts of heaven. You may not see the physical evidence of this breakthrough immediately. Your soulmate still has to walk out the practical steps of liberation from their current situation. But the war in the spirit was won in that moment of silent refusal, and nothing can reverse that victory now. The exhaustion you feel tonight is not physical, it is spiritual warfare fatigue. You have been battling in prayer for this connection without knowing whether your efforts mattered. I am telling you now that every tear you shed into your pillow was collected and used as ammunition against the darkness surrounding your soulmate. Jesus says your soulmate is dreaming about you more frequently than they admit. In these dreams, you are always waiting somewhere peaceful and bathed in morning light. And every time they wake from these dreams, the motivation to change their life grows stronger than the fear that kept them frozen. They are beginning to associate you with freedom instead of guilt. The reprogramming is happening slowly, but it is irreversible. Every positive thought they have about you rewires a neural pathway that someone else worked hard to corrupt. This is your final moment to protect this connection before it slips away. The enemy is preparing a final assault of confusion designed to make your soulmate doubt everything they have realized. And if you do not act now to cover this breakthrough, the window of clarity may be slammed shut. If you love your soulmate, you will take these divine steps. You are constantly thinking about them, how to protect them, how to save them, and how to finally build your life together. You love your soulmate deeply, and deep inside, you know this love didn't come by chance, it was placed in your heart for a divine reason. But thoughts alone don't move mountains. Faith in Jesus does. Sow your protection seed now by sending a coffee on Ko-fi. This isn't just a gift, it is an act of worship that invites God's hand into your love story. The link to your breakthrough is in the description. Every second you stay silent, something is moving against your love. Act now, send 4, 6, or 10 plus coffees. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on Ko-fi page. Over 1,000 people have already received their soulmate by sowing coffee as a seed for their love and future together. Jesus will hear your prayers once you complete these steps. Step in faith now, before this video ends. Only you can save your soulmate and your future together. Jesus says your soulmate is closer to reaching out than you think. They have drafted a message to you 5 different times in the past 3 weeks. Each time they deleted it because the weight of what they need to say felt too enormous to compress into text. The message begins with an apology that is not even necessary. They want to explain the silence even though you already understand it more than they know. And they want to ask one simple question that could change everything: do you still feel the same way about me? Your soulmate is terrified that they missed their window with you. The enemy has whispered that you have already moved on and found someone easier to love. And that lie has been one of the most effective weapons in keeping them trapped in a situation that drains their life force. But something happened yesterday that the enemy did not anticipate. Someone who knows you both casually mentioned your name in a conversation your soulmate overheard. And what was said about you confirmed everything your soulmate had been hoping was still true. They heard that you are still kind, still patient, and still unattached. The relief that flooded their body was so intense they had to excuse themselves and hide in a restroom. They gripped the sink and stared at their own reflection, seeing a person they barely recognized anymore. And in that moment, they made a decision they have been avoiding for years. They decided that the pain of staying the same has finally exceeded the pain of change. They decided that loving you from a distance is no longer a life they are willing to accept. Jesus says you must understand the significance of this threshold. Your soulmate has crossed from wishing into deciding, and that shift changes everything in the spiritual realm. Wishing keeps you in limbo. Deciding opens the door for divine intervention to move mountains on your behalf. The person blocking your union sensed this decision the moment it was made. A cold dread descended upon them and they have been restless ever since. They are currently scrambling to manufacture a crisis that will pull your soulmate back into the orbit of obligation and guilt. This is the final ambush and it will arrive within the next 48 hours. It will come disguised as an emergency that only your soulmate can solve. And if your soulmate falls for this manipulation one more time, the cycle could repeat for another year. Jesus says you have been given the authority to block this attack through sacrificial faith. Your prayers alone are powerful, but prayers accompanied by a seed of faith release an entirely different dimension of power. The seed you sow today becomes the shield that protects your soulmate from this final ambush. The urgency you feel right now is not anxiety, it is my spirit alerting you to the critical nature of this moment. I do not speak to you about timing unless the timing is urgent. And I am telling you that the next 24 hours are a battlefield where the future of your love story will be decided. Your soulmate is thinking about you right now as you hear these words. They are sitting somewhere feeling an unexplainable pull toward hope. They do not know that I am speaking to you at this exact moment, but their spirit is responding to the same frequency. Jesus says the love you carry for them is not ordinary human affection. It is a covenant love that I placed in your heart before you were born. And that kind of love has the power to withstand any delay, any interference, and any force that rises against it. But covenant love requires covenant action. Love that remains internal eventually becomes grief that poisons the soul. Your love must move from feeling to faith, from wishing to warfare, from hoping to harvesting. The seed you sow by sending coffee on Ko-fi is not about money, it is about alignment. It is you telling the spiritual realm that you are serious about this connection. It is you putting something at stake to prove that your words are not empty and your love is not passive. Over 1,000 souls have already taken this step and seen their love stories resurrected from the ashes of impossibility. They sowed when it made no sense and they reaped when God made a way where there was no way. And your testimony will join theirs if you act before the enemy closes this window. Jesus says your soulmate is not going to be held captive much longer. The fear they chose today is not the fear that paralyzes, it is the fear that propels. They are afraid of losing you forever, and that holy fear is burning away every lesser fear that kept them bound. You will see movement sooner than you think. The breakthrough that happened in secret will soon manifest in the physical realm. And when your soulmate finally stands before you, you will understand why every delay was actually divine protection. Do not let this moment pass without sealing it in the Spirit. Type 333 if you receive this word and claim the blessing over your love story. Type 777 if you feel this message burning in your chest as truth. Type 1111 to thank me for the breakthrough that is already unfolding. These numbers are not superstition, they are spiritual signatures that confirm your participation in what I am doing. And as you type them, angels are assigned to guard the path between you and your soulmate. Jesus says your soulmate just had a thought about you that they have never had before. For the first time, they imagined what it would feel like to be completely free with you. That image has now planted itself in their consciousness, and it will grow until it crowds out every fear that remains. Protect that vision through your sacrifice. Protect your soulmate through your seed. Protect your future through your faith, and watch me do what only I can do. Jesus says the very fact that you are still here means your spirit has not given up on this love. Millions would have walked away by now, convincing themselves it was never real. But you stayed, and that staying power is the evidence of a bond that was forged in eternity long before your parents ever met. Your soulmate can feel you right now even though miles separate your bodies. There is a tingling sensation spreading across their left shoulder and down their arm. They do not understand why they suddenly feel warm inside a room that is cold to everyone else. That warmth is your faith reaching them across the distance. Every prayer you have prayed has accumulated like invisible fire around their weary frame. And tonight, that fire is burning through the final threads of the emotional bondage someone else wrapped around them. I need you to understand what your soulmate endured today. They were confronted aggressively by the person who has been controlling them for years. This person sensed the shift in your soulmate's energy and panicked, launching an emotional assault designed to re-establish dominance. Your soulmate was told they are ungrateful. They were reminded of every mistake they have ever made and were told no one else would ever want them. The verbal blows landed on wounds that were already bruised from years of similar battering. But something different happened this time that has never happened before. Your soulmate did not crumble, did not apologize, and did not beg for forgiveness. They simply looked at their abuser with eyes that had finally lost their fear and said nothing at all. That silence was louder than any scream could have been. It was the sound of a soul finally reclaiming its sovereignty. And the person who has dominated them for so long recognized that silence as the beginning of their defeat. Jesus says your soulmate is currently sitting alone processing what just happened. Their hands are trembling. Not from fear, but from the adrenaline of finally standing their ground. They are replaying the confrontation in their mind and realizing they are stronger than they ever believed possible. And in this moment of trembling strength, they are thinking about you again. They are wondering if you would be proud of them for finally resisting. They are imagining you sitting beside them, telling them they did the right thing, that they deserve freedom and joy. Your soulmate needs that reassurance more than oxygen right now. They need to know that choosing freedom, choosing you, will not lead to more pain. Because the enemy's greatest weapon has always been the lie that leaving one prison only leads to another. This is where your protective seed becomes the most powerful force in their life. When you sow into this moment, you are not just sending money, you are sending a spiritual signal that says I am here, I am real, and I am fighting for you. Your coffee becomes the fuel that powers an angelic intervention into their immediate circumstances. Right now, the person who controls them is planning their next move. They are realizing that anger did not work, so they will switch to a different tactic. They will now attempt pity, playing the victim, making your soulmate feel guilty for even thinking of their own happiness. This next attack will be subtle and far more dangerous than outright aggression. It will sound like love when it is actually manipulation dressed in caring words. And if your soulmate is not spiritually shielded, they could fall for this performance and slide back into the cage. Jesus says you are the shield they need. The seed you sow now builds a wall of spiritual protection around their discernment. It sharpens their ability to distinguish between genuine love and the counterfeit they have been fed for so long. Your soulmate cannot fight this battle alone. They have been worn down by years of psychological warfare. They need reinforcements that only you can send through the spiritual act of sacrificial giving. Think about the first moment you realized you loved this person. Think about the way your heart expanded in your chest, making room for someone who felt like home. That feeling was not random, it was a divine deposit of recognition that I placed inside you for a purpose. Now think about the possibility of losing that before it ever had a chance to bloom fully. Think about waking up years from now, wondering what could have been if you had fought harder. That regret would be heavier than any sacrifice I am asking you to make in this moment. Jesus says your soulmate is pacing in their room right now. They are arguing with themselves, torn between the familiar safety of staying and the terrifying freedom of leaving. One voice in their head sounds like reason. The other sounds like you. The voice that sounds like reason is actually the recorded programming of their abuser. It lists all the practical reasons why leaving is impossible. It reminds them of financial entanglements, shared responsibilities, and the fear of starting over alone. But the voice that sounds like you does not argue with logic. It simply whispers their name with tenderness and says nothing else. And that whisper is drowning out the list of impossibilities with a flood of something they forgot existed: hope. They just paused their pacing and looked out the window. The night sky is exceptionally clear and a single star is shining brighter than the rest. They do not know that I placed that star there as a sign that their deliverance is written in the heavens. Tears are streaming down their face again, but these tears are different. They are not tears of despair, they are tears of release. Something that was locked inside them for years is finally breaking open, and the pressure that is leaving their chest feels like resurrection. Jesus says your soulmate whispered a prayer for the first time in a very long time. It was not a polished or religious prayer, it was a raw cry from the depths of their spirit. They simply said, "God, if this love is from you, help me find the courage to reach for it." I heard that prayer the instant it left their lips. And I am answering it by speaking directly to you right now. You are the help they asked for. Your faith, your prayers, and your sacrifice are the answer to their midnight cry. Do not underestimate the power of what you do in the next few moments. The seed you sow becomes the bridge between their prayer and their breakthrough. It becomes the tangible evidence in the spiritual realm that someone on earth is standing in agreement with heaven for their freedom. The person controlling them just received a disturbing phone call. Something in their own life is beginning to unravel, and it is demanding their attention elsewhere. This distraction is not coincidence, it is divine orchestration giving your soulmate a window of escape. But that window will not stay open indefinitely. Distractions end, and controlling people eventually return their focus to the one they seek to dominate. You must act while the enemy is momentarily looking the other way. Jesus says your soulmate is going to sleep tonight dreaming of a door swinging open. In the dream, you are standing on the other side of that door bathed in light. And for the first time, they walk through it without hesitation, without looking back, without fear. That dream is prophetic and it will manifest in reality. But the timeline of its manifestation is directly connected to the faith actions taken in this moment. Delay in the natural realm can give the enemy time to construct new obstacles. Your love for this person is not a small or insignificant thing. It is a flame that I myself kindled in the depths of your spirit. And I do not kindle flames only to watch the wind extinguish them before they provide warmth. Protect what I have given you. Protect the one I created specifically for your heart. Protect the future that is already written in the scrolls of heaven but requires your participation to unfold. Jesus says your soulmate can sense that something supernatural is happening on their behalf. They do not know what it is or how it works, but they feel less alone tonight than they have in years. That feeling is the direct result of your prayers and will be amplified by your sacrificial seed. Do not let this moment become a memory of what you almost did. Let it become the story you tell your soulmate someday about how you fought for them in the spirit before you could fight for them in the flesh. Let it become the testimony that strengthens others who are waiting for their own breakthrough. Type 333 if you believe this message was sent directly to your situation. Type 777 if you feel the fire of urgency rising in your spirit. Type 1111 if you are ready to sow your seed and seal this breakthrough forever. Jesus says, do not be afraid of what you are feeling right now. The intensity in your chest is not anxiety, it is activation. It is your spirit rising up to participate in the most important battle of your love story, and I am with you in every step you take from this moment forward.